Good afternoon. It is my pleasure to have a conversation with my very special guest and friend, uh, Nurse Heather. How are you today, Nurse Heather?
Hey, David, I'm doing just fine. This is great. I've been looking forward to having some time to chat with you.
Oh my gosh, and we were chatting before we started this, and I've had the pleasure, I should say, of knowing you for a long time, and we were just reminiscing about an event that we had in that we shared in Colorado like 7 years ago, the high tea.
Yeah, Mother's High Tea in Denver, and then we were talking about how we had gone to Boulder Canopy for their, I think it was their big, you know,
It was like their debut party, their showcase of their first class, I think, class one or class two. And yeah, they had a fantastic gathering of all these ancillary companies and Patrick Ray and the mentorship. And that was quite an event. That was like big time early legal cannabis.
yeah, fun times. So it's been quite a journey, and we were also talking about how we've been doing stuff before things were legal, and getting helping to get them that way, and then kind of seeing where it's laying, and then new changes are happening. So it's just like part of this big evolution of cannabis and cannabis access that we've been a part of, and it is a pleasure.
Well, and let's talk about your background and your experience because it is so valuable. First of all, you're an RN, you're a medical professional. You started off in mainstream medicine and were an early adopter. I met you as cannabis nurse Heather, and you were one of the first medical professionals to come out and start having serious discussions about the benefits of medical cannabis. Um, Talk
But I
about
had to
those.
learn that on my own, David. I didn't learn that through nursing school or working in medicine. And I think that's a really important part of for medical professionals, they're just not motivated to learn this information unless they are. And I had a relationship with this plant since I was 15. So I've loved her and all that she could provide, even without knowing the science behind the
Right.
medicine. And it was my work as a nurse where I learned through my patients how cannabis was benefiting them medically. And I couldn't deny my patients' experiences and drove me to learn more.
So
And
it
that,
wasn't the medical profession. You weren't learning this in school or through training. It was actually your patients who were educating you, the healing professional, about cannabis.
yeah, and it was just fascinating. I had this one patient, and I talk about him often, but he had multiple sclerosis. And he had a lot of, I was a home health psychiatric nurse. So when there were issues with the patient or they were angry, depressed, whatever, they would send me out. And I got this one patient, and he was a young guy that had MS, and he was wheelchair bound. And he was pissed about it because this had completely robbed him of his life and his dreams and what he had planned. But when I got his file, I opened up to his medication record, and right at the top it said cannabis in all capital letters. And I went, whoa, that was the first time I'd ever seen that. So obviously, those were my assessment questions. I said, I see here that you use cannabis. How do you use it? And I came to find out he was the fifth card holding patient in the state of New Mexico,
Wow.
and had a caregiver that was growing for him and producing smokeless alternatives that he could use in edibles and tinctures and all these other forms. So I learned so much from him. And
Wow, just from his experience, and that was really and it effective for MS and Parkinson's. Really, a lot of devastating diseases that don't have much traditional medicine to help. So, what exact? How was he using the cannabis for MS?
so he taught me that he was smoking cannabis throughout the day to help with his mood elevation, but at night he would use topicals to really keep his legs from having the tremors that kept him from sleeping.
Mhm.
And so that was really beneficial for him. And then he used tinctures in his coffees and stuff. And so he really just kind of incorporated cannabis throughout the day, taking edibles at night to help him sleep. And that was really beneficial. Another thing that I saw with patients really was the most profound was the pain relief that they were using it for. And a lot of my patients who were homebound were on opioids. And so being able to introduce cannabis to them helped them to start to eliminate the amount of opioids that they needed, which eventually, which was the cool part, they were no longer homebound
That's right.
once they got off of the opioids. And so I was able to discharge them from home
Wow.
health services. And so I got called in and they said, Heather, what are you doing? You're discharging patients.
So I was going to say, so then how are you doing this? That's you're disrupting the cash flow. We don't like that. And then, so what was the step then that made you a resource for other healthcare professionals? Did your colleagues see what you were doing? Because you're the founder of the Cannabis Nurses Network. You are a leader of healthcare professionals around the country, around the globe. You have a network where you do education and training and outreach, and you hold conventions and wonderful things. How did all that get started? How did you go from hearing from your patients to becoming such a thought leader for medical professionals?
Oh yeah, that's, I've been in this on this journey now for 12 years. And so over 12 years, it's kind of just evolved. But it started, with these very same patients I was talking about. Once I helped them get onto the program, where we lived in New Mexico, there wasn't access to anything except for flower, and sometimes they couldn't get that. So I was asked to join a license and be on the board of a license. And that enabled me to help cultivate, produce, manufacture products,
Fantastic.
and be able to deliver it to patients. And so through that work, I had real life clinical experience that it was priceless to me. But it also led me, part of that work was I would teach and train our staff. That led me to need to know more information. So I started going to Patients Out of Time, MJ for medical professionals, different science-minded conferences. And that's where I learned about the endocannabinoid system. And it blew the top of my head off. And I was just like, I'll never be the same. Now that I know this, I can't unlearn it. And as a matter of fact, I have to share it. And that's really where it became a passion of mine to help educate my colleagues about this thing that really helped me.
And not just colleagues. I saw you before I had the pleasure of meeting you. I saw you speak at a number of conferences and participate on panels, and you traveled around the country like I was doing at the MJBA, spreading the word and standing up. And as a healthcare professional, your voice was so valued. I mean, you shared with me at one point that nurses are the most respected and credible and trusted professionals, period. More than doctors, more than lawyers, more than politicians, more than teachers. Nurses are trusted by doctors rely on the nurses, the patients rely on nurses, and nurses rely on each other.
Yeah, and we just held the mark again. We came in #1 for highest ethics and trust as a profession for the 19th year. So we've really just grabbed onto that and held on to it, especially after COVID. I mean, this
Oh
last
my
year,
gosh, the front
2020 was
line.
the year of the nurse.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
the hardest year ever.
So before, and I want to talk about COVID, but before I get there, um, so you were traveling around, speaking, participating, educating, outreaching, working with patients, part of a license in New Mexico. How did you come up with the idea of starting the Cannabis Nurses Network? And tell us a little bit about what work you're doing there through that
Yes.
organization.
So all of the things that I was doing over the years, the networking piece, the cannabis industry isn't always what you know, it's who you know. And, we were out there traveling around, and we got to gather with one another and really gain these wonderful networks.
Right.
And my network had grown in the nursing community, and we really needed a place where we could gather together, educate each other, and share time being with each other and have fun, because cannabis nursing is actually a really fun specialty. And so we started hosting, they were in Las Vegas, and we started hosting educational conferences every year. We since moved the conference to San Diego, where
That's
it's
right.
just every year it just grew and grew and grew. And so now the Cannabis Nurses Network has many members from all over the world. We're a global network of cannabis nurses, and we are completely online. We have our own private cnnmembers.com, is kind of like a little Facebook for cannabis nurses. And we're able to host a lot of events. We have groups that, advocacy is happening. There's a lot of things going on with that, but we're really able to have a robust place where we can network together, support one another, and just have a great time on our cannabis nurse journeys. And
It's really a community you've built. It's an amazing community of amazing professionals. I mean, quite impressive.
The cool thing too is every nurse does something different. So, nurses aren't just this linear thing. Everybody has their own specialty. Mine happens to be mental health, where someone else could be, oncology or
That's
cancer,
right.
pediatrics. And so when we're all together supporting each other in their specialties, in their lane, in their role, and rooting each other on, it makes all the difference in the world with what we're trying to do of pushing this message to mainstream medicine.
So you've been involved in cannabis for a dozen years or so. How has the medical profession's attitudes towards cannabis changed? I mean, we have GW Pharma and CBD and now other phytocannabinoids becoming popular and mainstreaming. Um, are healthcare professionals more receptive to cannabis? Has it changed? Is it changing? What's the state of the state?
I can say it's changing. Is it changing rapidly as I'd like it to? No. But CBD, it's so funny how that cannabinoid
I
just
know.
brought people out of the woodwork, and it did kind of open up or crack open the minds of some medical professionals, to go, oh, well, if this isn't so bad, maybe it's okay.
It
But
was it was as if THC was demonized because of its euphoric side effect. And we're in some kind of a crazy culture that as long as there's no pleasure associated with it, we can consider its beneficial attributes. It's such an absurd
it's
notion.
insane, David. And really, it's like, look, euphoria feels good. Euphoria is great. Dysphoria doesn't feel
Not
good.
so
So we
good.
should worry about dysphoria before we worry about
I
euphoria.
and it's interesting because and now delta 8 THC, the non THC hemp derived
Less psychoactive.
phytomolecule has now become super 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 popular as well. What is how and that to me is trace that back to how medical information is being communicated in our culture, right? It's through Twitter and trends and marketing campaigns.
Yeah, no, it really is. And it really comes back down to the endocannabinoid system. I hate to be so elementary about it, but it's like you can't really understand the plant as a whole or its components individually until you understand that as a medical provider, we have an endocannabinoid system. And our job is not to get people high or to get them the right cannabis necessarily. Our job should be what's going on with your endocannabinoid system and how can we get it to come out of endocannabinoid deficiency by starting to produce your own endocannabinoids. And so we know through science that, acupuncture, massage, movement, yoga, meditation, certain foods, that all these things can help support our endocannabinoid systems. And cannabis is a perfect supplement for endocannabinoid deficiency.
That's
So really my goal is to get healthcare providers to look at the whole picture, not just
and not just cannabis, but really a plant-based lifestyle, a holistic approach to healthcare, and not, in opioids, it's just dealing with symptoms. You have pain, so we'll dull the pain. We're not fixing what's wrong with you. We're just making it so that you don't feel the pain or anything else. And yours is more of a holistic approach. Is that
well,
correct?
we're here to experience life. And if you're numb to a point where you can't experience life, you're missing out. And cannabis has a way of helping you get in tune with your own body and start to listen to it. And it's funny because there's this concept of, oh, you're going to use cannabis and you're going to sit on your couch and smoke and eat chips and get fat and all this stuff. And that's not what happened. People will smoke and go, oh, I want to go for a hike, or I want to go to the beach, or, I want to work out, or, do something creative.
Listen to jazz. Yeah,
Exactly.
I always say the side effects is you may like haiku. It's a terrible thing, but poetry is contagious. So in that role, you're an educator, you're a speaker, you've developed this network, and now your latest role, I'm so excited. I've been talking to all of my friends at 420 Media. Now you're going to be a media star. You've got your own program, Nurse Talk, debuting on 420. Tell me about that.
Sometimes I feel like ignorance is bliss, right? And I've kind of gone through this whole 12-year lifetime of cannabis, really just trying to be a student. And so when it comes to big media and being a superstar, I don't know what any of that means. So I'm just going to show up, do what I do, and love the community that we're trying to reach and spread some messages. And I'm grateful to Carrie and 420 Media for allowing me this platform to be able to do just that.
And your platform is, as I understand it, you're going to be having conversations with other professionals, with patients, with folks in the industry, basically opening up that network that you talked about, that you've built over this, past dozen years, and sharing these conversations in a candid, kind of open way. And that sounds really straightforward, but it's revolutionary in a world where public doesn't even understand that THC and CBD are just particular single cannabinoids in the spectrum of hundreds of cannabinoids whose effects are myriad, and it's a much more complicated conversation about healthcare. You've done a lot of this. You had a podcast for a long time. Are you still doing your podcast?
I am. Yep. Good News with Nurse Heather on cannabisradio.com. And we do it. We host an episode every week. We've been bringing on nurses from our Cannabis Nurses Network and giving them a platform to talk about their selves and the good news that they have to share.
Yeah.
And we'll just be expanding that, I believe, with Nurse Talk as we go into the beginning to record.
That's right.
Season 2. And so, season 1 is done. It's going to be getting released, but we are in, these next stages of bringing more great content to the platform.
So here we are. It's 2021. We're still in the midst of this COVID pandemic. As you said, it's the year of the nurse. We just had a new administration. We've been through this crazy election cycle. We're in the snowstorms. It seems like, the world is in flux. Tell me what the next 12 months looks like from Nurse Heather's perspective.
Well, hopefully, one of the things we're working on through the network is some protections for nurses through our advocacy group. And believe it or not, nurses are still losing their licenses. They're getting criminal records because they lost their license due to an illegal drug. They're not having the ability to be, getting jobs as nurses, even though they're fully qualified, because they might, test dirty on a drug test or something. So we're really pushing forward to protect our nurses professionally, as well as to ask for mandated education according to the National Council State Boards of Nursing, they've published out national nursing guidelines for marijuana. And we feel that all nurses need to be educated about this. The purpose of the NCSBN, they write the NCLEX, which is our professional license test that we take to get our license. And they want to start putting this information on the NCLEX, but it has to be in the student's curriculum. So the entire guidelines is really a call for education for students, for practicing nurses, and for advanced practicing nurses. So that's what we're trying to get legislatively pushed. And we're writing that language right now to start doing that. And it's a long game. You know, will we get it done this year? Maybe not, but we'll definitely have a jump for next year.
I love it. So if I'm listening to this on Marijuana Channel 1 and I'm a nurse or a healthcare professional or someone who would like to sponsor or support the cause, tell me where I go, how I get involved.
Yeah, so Cannabis Nurses Network.com is where you can find all of our public information. If you want to join us and really be in the mix where the magic is happening, you can sign up as a member, and cnnmembers.com. We've actually got our own app, which is awesome because I've got my Cannabis Nurses Network app right next to my Facebook app. And so we can keep that engagement and connectedness going at all times. We've got that education that's available through the platform right there at your fingertips. And so we started several years ago realizing that we needed to get, if we're really a global network, we've got to get everything online. And luckily, David, we had that done before 2020 hit. Yeah. So when everybody else was scrambling to get online, I kind of looked around at my colleagues and said, we're okay, right. You know, right. But we had planned ahead for this without knowing. Yeah. So definitely, we encourage anyone who's interested to come and join us. Check us out on our website. We've got great resources for education. We've got articles out there, and we're trying to make a robust library of things that people can access easily.
Well, you are doing God's work. Thank you for all you do, all you have done, and really for being such a trusted authority in this space. I know personally, I've used the network, and it's invaluable what you've created, the service. It really is. So I really appreciate everything you've done. We will all tune in on 420 on Roku and Fire Stick and all the other streaming services, and check out Nurses Talk. So that will be super, super fun. And go to cannabisnursesnetwork.com. Is that right? Yes. For any information, and you're welcome to come back. Thank you for what you do, and I'll give you the last word.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd also say if for anyone who's interested in following what we're doing with Nurse Talk, go to a new cannabis channel, sign up. You'll get all the information that you need when everything starts getting released on 420. And just, you know, keep gaining more knowledge, right? I mean, I am a student for life. The more that I learn, the less that I realize that I know. And so stay humble out there and keep learning, because this is such an exciting plant and she has so much to teach us.
Thank you so much. Really enjoyed our talk, and I look forward to seeing the debut on 420. And again, go to newcannabischannel.com to get all the particulars. Cheers. Thanks, Nurse Heather.
Thank you.